the call to order and saluted the flag. I'm going to read the statement of public notice now. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of Berners Township. Notice of the time and place of this meeting was provided, and copies of that resolution were forwarded to the official newspapers as designated by the Board of Education and to the Township Clerk, and a copy of the notice was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education offices. For those members of the public who cannot attend our meeting in person, a live stream link to the meeting is posted on the district website. We very much welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during regular meetings that the public is invited to speak. One time is early in the meeting before the board votes, when you may speak about any item that is listed on tonight's agenda. Towards the end of the meeting, there is another public forum to address any matter of public concern related to the schools. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. No participant may speak more than once during a given public comment session. The first public comment session will be limited to 30 minutes, and the second will be unlimited. In order to run efficient meetings and to allow maximum opportunity for members of the public to speak, the board reserves the right to set a different time limit for individual comments and the overall time limit for the public comment portions of the agenda. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. Please understand that public comment portions of our agenda are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. The board and administration will respond to public comments to the extent possible. Any board responses to public comments will generally be addressed during board forum or committee reports. However, all comments are considered and will be investigated and addressed as appropriate. Please be courteous and mindful to the rights of others when speaking. Comments may not be abusive, obscene, threatening, or irrelevant. Please understand that students and employees have specific legal and privacy protections. The board is not permitted to respond in public to comments about students and employees. Please also understand that the board will not be responsible for the content of comments made by members of the public. Members of the public are cautioned that they are speaking at their own risk, and any personally directed statements that they may subject them to legal liability to the affected individual. If it is necessary for the board to go into executive session at the end of the meeting, we will provide an estimated length of time for this session and whether any action is anticipated to be taken upon returning to the to public session. Jim, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here.
Ms. Light? Ms. Corrado?
Here.
Ms. McCune? Mr. Molinari?
Here.
Mr. Amin?
Here.
Ms. Chipok? And Mr. Shaw?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum, so we're up to superintendent's reports. There's 4 items there. Can I have a motion for that, please? Jen and Dave. Nick?
Okay, good evening, everyone. So tonight's superintendent's report, 5 items, the HIB report from this month. We also have our virtual remote instruction plan, which has to be updated on an annual basis and submitted to the DOE. There were really no substantive changes to the virtual remote instruction plan. The language instruction educational program 3-year document has to be submitted for the county office as well. We're certifying the number of Ridge High School graduates and accepting the state assessment results from the spring of 2024, which have to be provided to the board within 60 days of receipt.
Any questions about that from board members? No? Okay. Jim, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
And Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Great, thank you. We are up to public comment on agenda items. Please come up to the microphone, write down your name and address, state your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Desiree Noland. I live at 88 Harrison Brook Drive in Basking Ridge. I came last year in August for a similar discussion about class sizes, and yet again, our 5th grade class size is astronomical. And I did notice on the board agenda that we do have a 1st and 2nd grade teacher being hired, I'm assuming for maternity leave in LCS, but our 5th grade yet again is pushing the 25 limit. In fact, this last year it wasn't taken into account that some of the classes were at 27, which we're in Basking Ridge. That's really high and tough on our teachers, especially given the academics and the rigor that they are expected to accomplish in these classrooms. They have expressed their concerns, so I'm speaking on behalf as a parent and the teachers in our own district. We're going to lose these valuable teachers. They're going to get burnt out. We need to listen to them. They know our kids and what is needed. The policy that we have, District Policy 2312, is from 2013. What we were teaching in the classrooms in 2013 is much different than what we are teaching in the classrooms now. And the only people that are standing in the way are the administrators. And that's very disappointing that they don't have the teachers' backs or the parents' backs. We've expressed our concerns, the parents at LCS. We've sent multiple emails. I have spoken to Dr. Oliver. I've spoken to Mr. Markarian regarding this issue. I've spoken to the board last year. Please, please, please do something about this. One of the teachers from 5th grade was moved to 4th grade. So yet again, the same grade that was hit during COVID is losing out again. And we're going to lose out with these teachers. We have kids pushing in that are missing out on these opportunities, the LLD kids that are pushing in, which pushes those numbers up as well. So please take this into account. I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Nolan. Any other public comment tonight on agenda items?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time. Dhaval Patel, along with my son, Gavin Patel, and my wife, Neepa Patel. We live at 17 River Farm Lane. We actually attend Liberty Corner School, so we wanted to give our thoughts. First, as Gavin's going to speak as a student there, and then I was going to give some comments as a parent.
My name is Gavin Patel. My twin sister, Arya Patel, and I will be 5th graders next year at Liberty Corner. We wanted to let you know that 4th grade classes were very crowded last year. Arya had about 27 kids in her class, and space was very tight. I also had about 25 in mine. This made it very hard for the teacher to give appropriate time to each student in all the classes. We are excited about 5th grade because is an important year to help us get ready for middle school. We really hope you don't cut a 5th grade class at our school because too many students in one class is not a good learning environment. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Gil. I just echo what he said, and I think the thing I wanted to say as a parent is we understand it's tough choices. There's lots of kids in the school district, lots of classes, and the way I looked at it is unfairly, the class of 2032 is the one that's been burdened with, having to deal with the budget issues and everything else that we have to deal with. We know that there's only so many dollars for everywhere to go, but this one class has had, for 2 years already, had their class sizes at Liberty Corner, at a higher level than they would normally be because they've had that year has seen a class cut. And now we're hearing yet again, 5th grade, which is a fairly important year considering it's a transition. They're gonna be preparing for middle school and the work is only getting harder. Yet again, they'll never have that opportunity to have a normal sized classroom. They're gonna, again, have a class stripped away from them. And, I think that there should be just a more practical approach. It's something that would be plausible is okay, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, whichever one it is, but each year, that's the grade that you guys decide which one gets, or you either, if you have the resources, you supply them for the full amount, or that grade is the one where there's a cut. if you keep rotating and it's each year changes which grade is going to have that number cut, then the same group of that 2032 class is overburdened with that, that issue of the budget being too limited, and they're the ones that lost out on 3 straight years, whereas other classes, if you just happen to be born in the different year, you might not be impacted at all. And it's not fair. It's not fair to everyone, but I think it's unfair. The people that it's the most unfair to is our kids that are in that class of 2032. So I hope that, as a group, you guys can make a decision that seems more appropriate and is spread out so that the whole town can help, share that burden about budgets and other issues that you might be facing.
Hi. Just going to echo what my husband said. I think, the important part is 5th year for all these kids is a very transitional year. It's supposed to prepare them for middle school. So I think regardless of looking at just a number, saying one grade have a higher enrollment compared to another, we should look into the other factors that are really going to help our kids, especially the 5th graders, set up for success for middle school. And if you guys could look at all those little details and kind of look outside the numbers and look into the details to really make a decision that will impact them in a positive way versus just looking at the numbers to be like, okay, this grade gets 4 classes versus this grade gets 3. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you, Patels. Any other, anybody else for public comment on agenda items?
Hi, everyone. My name's Erin Rowan. I live at 83 Church Street, and I've been a resident of Berners Township since 2009, so starting to amazingly come on 15 years now. I have 2 kids at LCS. My oldest, Trot, is going into the 5th grade, and my youngest, Elle, is going into 1st grade. I did send an email to the board and to Mr. Markarian earlier this week, but I wanted to come down in person because a lot of times I wanted to make sure that as a member of the community, and I know all of you are members of the community as well, that you're hearing what are the really important issues to the parents so that you're still staying in touch with that. And as Desiree had touched upon, this issue has been going on for a while. So if you would bear with me, I wanted to read a couple of the salient points from my email just to make sure that those points resonated with everyone. I know it was a little bit long, but I just wanted to touch on some of them. So when COVID first hit, it definitely affected this class. I remember bringing Trot to kindergarten and walking in, meeting his teacher. He was so excited. And then an unprecedented global pandemic hit. And all of a sudden, we were all forced home. I was doing gym classes over Zoom with him. We were doing classes like late at night. I was a working parent, so I was working all day. And then my son wasn't going to bed until like 9 o'clock at night because I'd be like, that's when mama has time to do work. But we got through it. Desiree ran a learning pod, and my son was getting extra help from her. We pulled together as a community to rally around all of the students and to make sure that they got the educational support that they needed through this crucial time. Now that we were back into school again and there was some semblance of normalcy, say 2nd and 3rd grade, we started to see the class sizes increase again around 4th grade. And as I said, we were at about 25. This year, I think the total number, counting those who pushed into my son's class, was about 27. I wasn't a class parent, my mom's in Trot's class, but I did volunteer for a couple events, so I was in the classroom to see just how crowded it would feel at times. And Miss Baryzonic, his teacher, did an amazing job with those kids. She had them, she would clap her hands, they'd clap back, they'd immediately silence, like when she asked them to. So she was doing a fantastic job as a teacher. But I could not imagine her having to deal with that on a daily basis. Again, she's a fantastic educator, really valuable asset to the LCS community, but is undoubtedly a challenge to our staff and also to our kids to have to constantly deal with just physical space limitations as well as attention limitations as well. And now, when I was in the classroom and doing the volunteering, it was the same thing, trying to gather people around, explaining instructions again for all the multiple small groups. And so it starts to cut into time that you're actually executing on learning or on the fun part of the things that you do. So there is a residual effect. So even if the teacher is able to spread themselves out and, connect with the kids, the overall effect is a little bit, distilled when you look at the overall impact of how long it actually takes to get around to that many kids. And then there's also kind of reduction in the time to go that second pass around to make sure a lot of the kids really understand. And now personally, my son's always loved school. He's been a really bright student. He especially loved math. I'm not a math person, so I don't know where that came from. But I was always very thrilled about his interest in math in particular. This was the first year that he began to come home from school upset about math. He'd be like, "Mama, I just can't get it. I'm really starting to struggle. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable in class." He also has an IEP for a stutter, so he was starting to get a little bit affected about raising his hand in class. So I met with Ms. Barisonic on a couple of occasions to say, this is what he's feeling and this is what he's experiencing in the classroom. How else can we support him through this? She was very open and receptive to hearing it, but I began to get the impression that bandwidth was actually an issue, and that sometimes it's, both ends of the spectrum kind of get a lot of the attention. Your exceptional kids that have very confident speakers raising their hands, really jumping out there. Of course, they're going to get, a lot of the attention within the classroom. And then the other, end of the spectrum, a lot of kids that clearly need, extra help and support, they also receive that wonderful help and support in the environment at LCS. Now, a lot of times
Ms. Rowan, I'm sorry. You have 3 minutes, so you mind kind of finalizing your thoughts, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
So I worry about the kids in the middle. And again, when you talk about retention of teachers, impacting kids overall, we want to make sure that every single kid in Berners Township is receiving the education that they deserve and that they are promised as being a resident here as well. I fear that I'm starting to question the value of a Berners Township education after 15 years here and being really excited to get my kids into the school system. I just want to make sure that I'm doing right by my kids and speaking up on an important issue to make sure that they're getting the attention and the care in the school system that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rowan. Anybody else for public comment tonight on agenda items?
Good evening. I'm part of this same crew. I think I'm the last one though, so I wrote it down unlike the other guys. We're here tonight to
Sorry,
ask...
ma'am, would you just mind saying
Oh,
your name
I'm
and
sorry, I
address?
wrote it, yeah. Karen Aptekar, 21 Century Court.
Thank you.
Sure. We're here tonight to ask you to please reconsider the number of classes for our rising fifth graders at Liberty Corner. This is the second year in a row my husband and I are personally reaching out, voicing our concern. Our son ended fourth grade with 27 students in his class. We believe the quality of education does in fact suffer in a classroom this size. As of today, it's my understanding we're starting the year with 73 kids, and again, only 3 classes. That puts each class at 24 to 25. And I don't think that number includes the children who do push in during the school day. It definitely doesn't include the kids who will move into town during the school year. In 2019, our kindergartners started with 61 kids in 3 sections. This group has consistently grown year over year. We are now at 73 and still only 3 classes. This will be their first year in at least 6 years that fifth graders won't have at least 4 classes during their platooning. I believe this will be a disadvantage to them as they prepare for WAMs. We heard about some of the effects on academics, so I'm not going to read that piece that I wrote, but I do think that there's an impact on the socialization. There's literature to support that smaller classes has a positive impact on school climate. As you know, we're seeing an uptick in verbal violence over the last few years in district. Having smaller classes allows staff to be better in tune with what's happening with their students, greater opportunity to hear how they're speaking to each other, and be better positioned to intervene when needed. There are many reasons we're asking you to consider what fifth grade will look like for our kids, but it's just as important to consider what it will look like for our teachers. We have the best staff, and we want to retain them. They shouldn't be overworked and overwhelmed year after year, trying to ensure that no student gets lost. Please reconsider the headcount at LCS and support our kids and our teachers by ensuring a fourth section for our rising fifth graders.
Thank you, Ms. Aptekar. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items tonight? Okay, we'll close public comment on agenda items. Nick, do you have any comments?
Sure. So obviously, thank you to our parents expressing their concern for their kids at Liberty Corner. I can say that the number of classroom teachers at Liberty Corner is unchanged from last year to this year in terms of the building in and of itself as a whole. I understand that there is a change in the number of sections for fifth grade, but that is not a decrease in the number of teachers in the building. Every year, principals have to try to align their staff to the enrollments at the grades to maintain the board's guideline of no more than 22 students K1-2 and 25 students grades 3, 4, 5. So that's what the principals generally do as they work through their scheduling process on an annual basis. And I want to recognize, too, we have certainly been sensitive to the challenges that COVID has created over the years, and we've tried to run summer programs. I look to the person on my left for all the work that she does to coordinate that with the principals and the supervisors to try to create opportunities for kids in the summer. And there is a cohort of staff members at all of the elementary schools that are there to support the needs of the general education students in mathematics and language arts support opportunities. So there are a lot of resources to use to try to make sure that students are supported. So on an individual basis, I would encourage families to consider that and to talk to the school staff if they feel as though their child is missing something or falling behind. What kinds of supports can the school put in place with other staff besides the regular classroom teacher? I can articulate that the number of 73 is the number that I have as well right now. That's inclusive of all of the fifth grade students at Liberty Corner School. And I will certainly monitor those numbers and keep the board apprised if it looks as though we're going to exceed our guidelines.
All right, thank you. We are up to approval of minutes. There's one item there. Can I have a motion for that, please? Dave and Janice. Jim, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
And Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Great, thank you. We're up to the Finance Committee report. There's 40 items. Can I have a motion for that, please? Keith and Jen. The Finance Committee report I have is from our meeting on June 4th. The first item for discussion was facility rental rates for the upcoming school year. Mr. Rollo reviewed facility use schedules for Somerset Hills, Franklin, and Montclair to see where Berners Township's rate schedule fits in there. Each district defines its use categories differently, and some districts have minimum time blocks for rentals, for example, 4-hour minimums for a gym. However, it appears that each district charges the most to for-profit entities for using facilities. We went over our current facility schedule, and last year we raised the facility use fees for all groups. The committee discussed raising the fees for categories C and D, which are for-profit entities, to be commensurate with neighboring districts, and raising custodial fees for all categories to keep up with the increased cost of labor. Mr. Rollo recommends a 10% increase on the custodial rate change, which has not been raised in several years, and the custodial expenses are currently expected to increase by 16% in 2025, and recommended a 5% increase on the fee for categories C and D in our rate schedule. The committee supported that recommendation. The next item was the thought exchange application. Mr. Markarian and Ms. McEwen reviewed comments provided about the thought exchange from the PTO advisory meeting on Monday, June 3rd. Parents liked the concept and thought the interface was user-friendly. The parents asked questions about skipping thoughts instead of having to rate each one, and whether the application knows where you left off or restarts you back on the first thought. We met with a rep from the thought exchange company, and ask the following. Does the application know where a user leaves off in ratings? Yes. How do thoughts get presented? The system randomly delivers thoughts but avoids presenting similarly themed thoughts consecutively. However, the system is trying to show each thought the same amount of times across all users. Could the ratings be a thumbs up, thumbs down instead of a 5-star rating? The answer is no. Does the license offered by Thought Exchange allow unlimited district use? No. The license is for 7 user logins, which is the minimum that they provide in their package. So this would likely not be used by this would likely be used by administrators and building principals, not really in the classroom by students. However, a building principal could run a Thought Exchange for a group, for example, the student council, the PTO, or a select group of students, but the principal would be the moderator. How is Thought Exchange used for strategic planning? The rep from Thought Exchange would work with the district to create a timeline and exchanges and surveys to carry out the strategic planning. The cost offered for a 1-year license with 7 user logins was $34,000. Mr. Markarian was going to speak with the administrators and building principals to gauge interest and ask how frequently they might use Thought Exchange for the upcoming school year. Mr. Rollo will determine whether any remaining grant funds could be used to purchase the 1-year license. The next item was the WAMS donations, a series of donations from the WAMS PTO, which is really great. The first one was for a new WAMS school sign, which will be an electronic sign. It will be put at the exit out of the parking lot opposite the corner with the old sign, the stone sign, so that the new digital sign will be opposite the old sign. Mr. Rollo said that he talked to the township construction department, and the town indicated the project did not require a planning board review, and Mr. Rollo was going to develop a timeline for installation. The WAMS PTO also donated $1,000 for in recognition of the WAMS Teacher of the Year for professional development, which was great, and donated also sound equipment for upgrading the sound system in the WAMS auditorium. And that was it. As far as the agenda items tonight, there's kind of the normal standing items and a bunch of student services at the end, but I wanted to point out in particular item 9. Jim, can you kind of relay what's going on there as it has to do with busing? For the extended school year.
I'll do my best. Any motion that's two and a half pages takes some work to summarize. What happened with our extended school year busing? Our busing transportation provider informed us on the very first day of the extended school year program that they had a massive driver shortage and would not be able to perform all the routes that they had bid on through our quote process. So what ensued was a bit of a scramble to source bus companies who could provide the rest of the routes so that we could get the kids on time. That first few days, the kids were getting to school significantly late. So what the resulting motion that you see before you awards to the bus company the routes that they can do, that they have enough drivers to do, and the 2 other alternate transportation companies that we're able to source to do the routes that the first company could not, and as well as it pays the first company for the routes that they ran late for the first few days before we reallocated their routes to the other 2 companies.
All right, any questions for or about finance? Yeah, Dave.
I just want to say on the busing, we all know how disappointed we were with that, and they showed up on day 1. They were supposed to have 11 buses, and they showed up with 5. So, I mean, it was ridiculous, and Jim scrambled to get it all set up, but it was just a terrible, terrible situation. So I'm glad Jim was able to fix it, but it really did not come out well.
No. Any other questions for, yeah, Janice?
I also just want to acknowledge the work that Jim and Janet Wabuska did in trying to resolve that issue as quickly as we could. And we want to thank the parents who made us aware of the situation, and thank you for letting us know so that we could get to work on it.
Anybody else for or about finance? No? Okay, Jim, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
And Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. We're up to the Personnel Committee report. There's 44 items. Can somebody make a motion for that, please? Jen and Dave. And Jen, you're going to read the report? Nick is going to read the
Yep,
report?
I'm going to jump in on this one. So the committee met on June 21st at 9 a.m. Some of the items we can't get into detail about as they're confidential, but one of the items we discussed was elementary sectioning review. As I mentioned earlier, we keep tabs on enrollments carefully throughout the summer, and we'll continue to keep the board advised, but as of now, we are still within the Board of Education guidelines for elementary sectioning and class size. There was a discussion with respect to a new stipend for an assistant dance team coordinator. The committee approved of the item to get an additional staff member to help assist, given that the numbers in the program have grown. There was a discussion about increasing the compensation for our teacher of the deaf, since we're unable to source another teacher on a part-time schedule. There's enough work to essentially do something similar to what we do with regular classroom instruction relative to additional workload, so we're able to do that for our teacher of the deaf. There was a confidential request made by an individual staff member. There were some confidential discussions with regard to BTEA impact negotiations as it related to the new start times, and a update from Mr. Syatt on vacant positions. That was it.
Great. Any questions for or about personnel? No? I just wanted to say, because we did talk about class size, and we are continually monitoring class size and kids coming into the district, going out of the district, and we hear you parents about class size. And I think for me, when I'm looking at it, obviously we have our policy guidelines as our backstop, but the hardest thing I think is when you introduce a teacher that, bring in a teacher into a section, into a grade, and create a new section, and how does that look across all the elementary schools in the district? Not just the grades within that school, but within the other schools in the district. So if you have another school in the district that has other fifth grade with big classes, and you bring a teacher to Liberty Corner, then you probably should bring a teacher to another school, and then that could be all the schools. And then you look, kind of across schools, across grades. So I think, for me, I'm constantly using kind of our policy guidelines as the backstop, and then we are looking every month at whether the numbers are changing or not. So we do get your emails, we look at them, and we are talking about it every month, so we do hear you. And I know sometimes it can be frustrating, but when we look across the district, we're trying to maintain equity, and the way that I do that, and when I'm thinking about the issue, is kind of relying on our policy. So I just wanted to make that comment. Anything else about, Nimish?
Yeah, just to add to what Tim said, we had a very similar discussion last year at Personnel Committee, and that was exactly what Tim alluded to, looking at what other schools in the district are also, where they are at class sizes. And it's not a matter of having one extra teacher, it's a matter of maybe having 4 extra teachers. And if we can do that, great, but we don't necessarily want to have Liberty Corner, Mount Prospect, or Oak Street, or Cedar Hill to have different class sizes within the district.
Anyone else? Okay, Jim, can you call the roll, please?
I'm sorry, I was page turning. Could the first and the second on these?
Oh, I'm sorry, did I get a motion?
I think you did.
Yeah, I thought I did.
Yeah,
It was,
I may have missed it.
Yeah, it was Dave and Janice.
Apologies.
No worries.
We think.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. White,
Yes.
Ms. Corrado,
Yes.
Mr. Molinari,
Yes.
Mr. Amin,
Yes.
and Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Special personnel announcement?
Yeah.
Breaking
So-
news.
So just a little collaboration and public service announcement. Some folks might have noticed in one of my recent SOS Expresses that we are trying to help promote the advertisement of our crossing guards. Crossing guard posts are run, staffed, and compensated through the Berners Township Police Department. However, obviously, this is a key position for our schools, and I understand that there are several posts that still need to be filled for next school year. So in communication with our police chief, he advised me that I could share some information in my newsletter, which I did do. He also noted that the hourly rate of pay was $19.80 an hour, which is the compensation for an AM job, and then separately the same compensation for a PM job. If anyone is interested, as I mentioned, this is staffed through the police department. They should contact Lieutenant Ammerman at the PD. That's it.
Great, thanks. We're up to the policy committee report. There are 2 items. Can I have a motion for that one, please? Keith and Janice. Dave, policy?
Yeah, there were 2 policy meetings, so I will try to keep it as quick as possible and combine them as much as possible. There was one on June 14th and then July 12th. The first policy of the committee discussed potential amendments to Regulation 5600 related to discipline, focusing on racial and ethnic code of conduct violations at the middle school. The proposal was further developed to include 3 levels of offenses, each with specific types of discipline. This added clarity is intended to help parents and administrators understand the potential disciplinary actions. The committee made minor change suggestions, which were incorporated by Mr. Markarian. The next policy, school volunteers. So the committee reviewed and decided to add a requirement for criminal background checks to school volunteers. Additionally, it was agreed that a principal could request the superintendent to require a volunteer to obtain a sub-certificate. This change aims to enhance the safety and reliability of school volunteers. Next policy, 9181, volunteer athletic coaches. The committee proposed requiring annual criminal background checks for the volunteer athletic coaches and co-curricular activity advisors. The decision does not to mandate substitute certificates for these volunteers was also confirmed. Next policy, extracurricular activities and non-enrolled students. Policy 9270, the committee discussed specifically addressing whether non-enrolled students, including those from private schools, could join extracurricular activities like the Ridge Cheer Team. The committee recommended maintaining the current policy due to potential risks and complications, such as insurance and accountability issues. The next policy or regulation, the committee reviewed Regulation 5112, which pertains to admission and grade placement, particularly for kindergarten registration. It was just minor wording updates were made to reflect the transition from manual to digital practices over the past few years. These updates aim to streamline the registration process and ensure clarity in the policy. Next policy, which was quite a bit of discussion, was on smartphone use in schools, policy 2361. The committee began by reviewing the policy on smartphone usage in schools. The current policy prohibits device usage for kindergarten through 5th grade students during the instructional day and allows limited use for grades 6 through 12. A more comprehensive review, including data collection and community input, is planned. And then at the next meeting, we continued the discussion with the committee recommending 2 minor changes. One was splitting the 6th through 12th grade policy into separate policies for 6th through 8 and 9 through 12, and removing language allowing administrative discretion for classroom use. The proposed changes aim to create a more consistent and clear policy. The committee suggested working with the community to develop new policy language effective for the 2025 calendar year. The next policy, P0141, is related to board member number and term of years. The policy change are statutory, removing redundant language already covered in policy 0143. This streamlines the policy, ensuring it remains clear and concise. The committee recommends adopting these changes. Next policy, 0164.6, remote public board meetings. The policy initially enacted for COVID. It's recommended for abolishing as no longer necessary. This reflects the return to normal operations. Policy 2200, curriculum content. The policy now references the students' learning standards instead of listing them, simplifying the policy and making it easier to update. The committee recommends adopting these mandatory changes. Policy and regulations 3160 and 4160, physical examination. Updates to these policies and regulations align TB testing requirements with current guidelines, removing detailed, outdated requirements. This change ensures the policy remains relevant and compliant with health regulations. Regulation 5200, attendance. The regulation now includes an allowance for excused absences to attend civic events, supporting student engagement in community and civic responsibilities. The community recommends this mandatory change. Policy 5337, service animals. Minor changes align the policy with the ADA requirements, ensuring clarity and consistency in the use of service animals within schools. The committee recommends adopting these changes. Policy 5350, student suicide prevention. The policy now includes comprehensive training requirements for new and existing staff, as well as substitute teachers. This aims to enhance awareness and response protocols to better support student mental health. Policy 8420, emergency and crisis situations. The revised policy ensures students with special needs can participate in all drills, requiring written plans for necessary accommodations. This change promotes inclusivity and safety for all students. And then policy and regulation 8467, firearms and weapons. Minor wording changes and section relocations improve the clarity of the policy without introducing any new requirements. The committee recommends adopting these new mandatory changes. That's it.
So just one point of clarification. I think I know we went back and forth on the two volunteer policies so many times. So for the school volunteer policy, since they're under the direct supervision of staff at all times, there is not a requirement for a background check unless that school volunteer is going to work in an unsupervised capacity, in which case the principal would ask me if we could get that person certified with an actual subcert, versus the volunteer athletic coaches and co-curricular activity advisors. The decision there was to require a criminal background check once annually, but not a subcert. Okay, good. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page on that one, because we went
Yes,
back
if I
and
read
forth.
that wrong, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because
Yes.
we did go around on that one.
Any questions for or about policy? No? Okay. Jim, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
And Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Great, thank you. We are up to the Curriculum Committee report. There is one item. Can I have a motion for that, please? Jen and Dave. And Jen, you're going to give us a report?
Sure. The first thing we discussed was a recommendation by Dr. Hunsher for an AP seminar elective textbook. He's requested the purchase of the updated 6th edition of They Say, I Say, The Moves That Matter in Academic Writing. The course will be running 4 sections in the fall, up from 2 sections this year, so more textbooks will need to be purchased. The question discussed was whether to purchase outdated textbooks for the additional 2 sections or the new edition for all sections. The new textbook has notable improvements, in particular how it addresses AI for high school students, such as how to cite while using it. This was shared with both middle and high school teachers and will be discussed during summer curriculum writing. The College Board has updated the course curriculum for AP Seminar and Research to include AI and included examples of what is and is not acceptable in terms of use of resources, and AI will be more integrated. In AE capstone courses, teachers are now required to have 3 individual conversations with students during the course to ensure full understanding of the use of AI. Submissions need to be made by teachers of these conversations as part of the AP test score in those courses. And then Dr. Hunsher discussed the addition of an 8th grade creative writing elective at WAMS, which will be running in the fall. Brave the Page by Rebecca Stern and Grant Faulkner, intro by Jason Reynolds, is the book recommended for the course. The text is geared towards the young creative writer. It's hard to find a text that's geared towards middle schoolers, so this is a great find. The course will not march chapter by chapter or drive lessons every day. However, it will be used throughout the semester course. And then another new 8th grade elective, it will be TED Talks, and it will run in the fall. TED Talks, the official TED Guide to Public Speaking by Chris Anderson. And the text is not geared towards middle school. It's the official guide to TED Talks, and the teachers are well versed in its use and will guide students through any difficult book comprehension and language. This is a public speaking course. Summer curriculum writing will take place, and after running the course in the fall, it will be determined if additional resources are needed and could be recommended later. Then we had a number of discussion items. We started with the summer reading. The final 4 student selected titles. They're 2 fiction, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Mass, The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, and 2 nonfictions, The Other Westmore, One Name, Two Fates by Westmore, and Stolen Focus by Johan Hari. When students choose what they want to read, it increases engagement, and student involvement in the process of selection began in 2017, and they voted again this year on the final 4 titles. Students taking CP courses need to select 1 book to read. Honors level students select 2 books to read. AP Lang students must select 1 fiction and 1 nonfiction to read, as well as any other course-assigned summer reading. The summer website can be viewed to see details about the books. The selection process has been reviewed and updated for the coming year. The Ridge High School Summer Reading Book Club advisors and co-advisors will oversee and facilitate the activities of the school-wide student-led group. Then we had a discussion with Lisa Vitale Stancione. She shared that the annual presentation for the Title I grant was held on May 23rd. Cedar Hill, Liberty Corner, and Oak Street schools qualify for Title I Target Assist funding for struggling learners. The district's tiered system of support was reviewed, as well as best practices on how to provide professional development to enhance and strengthen teachers' ability to meet the needs of all students, especially struggling learners. The RTI framework and professional development for teachers are goals of the Title I grant. Within the RTI framework, the district includes the state mandate for all second-grade students to be screened for dyslexia. The screening tool utilized by the district, Dynamic Indicators of Early Literacy Skills, often referred to as DIBELS, is state-approved and evidence-based. Students that are below the grade level benchmark on DIBELS are given a diagnostic assessment in the area of phonological awareness, the PASI, and/or phonics, the PSI, to identify their specific area of need. From there, interventions and instruction are developed to target the specific skill deficits that are needed to meet benchmarks. General education teachers, instructional support teachers, and intervention teachers all work collaboratively to deliver the skill-based instruction. The district school-wide assistant team, also called the SWAT team of administrators, they administer these assessments, which are no more than 5 to 7 minutes in length per student. The SWAT teacher for each building includes instructional support literacy teachers and special education teachers. SWAT and general education engage in a professional development day after assessments are administered to analyze all student data and identify skills to target for all students. The student results from June will be reviewed and analyzed to support students in the fall, and the results will be shared and discussed in the fall. Ms. Vitale Stancione reported that these testing instruments clearly demonstrate if students are making progress in the identified target skill deficit areas, and that due to the implementation of the 95% group phonics core program in Tier 1 general education curriculum for grades K through 3, the need for targeted skills intervention has decreased significantly. We then had an update on Panorama. ESSER grant money was used to purchase the Panorama education platform. We purchased the Panorama survey instrument for students in grades 3 through 12 and the Panorama Student Success platform for students in grades 6 through 8. While survey results are not anonymous, they are confidential, and it's a district decision as to who can see the data. As of now, only counselors and administrators have access to data. The Student Success platform integrates data from our student information system, Genesis, including absences, tardies, and specific academic data with the Panorama survey results. A training session has already taken place to train the administrative and counseling team on how to access and analyze the data. This work will continue this summer with further training and planning for implementation next year. And the team will consider when to implement the survey again next year. Our Panorama license runs through January of 2025, and therefore discussion will take place in the fall as to whether this tool is valued and if we would like to renew our contract. The survey topics are common across all grades and are intended to take students an average of 15 to 20 minutes across all grades. Assistance was provided to students, particularly for students in lower grades or for students with accommodations. Part of summer discussion will include a debriefing on how the process went and making any adjustments to the implementation process or the survey questions. Then we had an update on WAM's professional development. Planning includes a consideration of when and how to review the Panorama survey results with staff. The question is, how could this high-level data support teachers in their work with students? For example, one survey question asked students if they feel they have a teacher to go to if they need support. Beyond Panorama, a focus has been placed on how to provide support to staff who have been asked for training to be provided to them so that they have needed tools to use with students when the need arises to talk about difficult, uncomfortable issues. Bringing in outside vendors or consultants have been explored but not settled upon. In the meantime, this spring, a modified version of the Creating a Safe and Supportive Environment Staff College course was provided to WAM staff. The district instructional courses ran the course, and it took place over a series of 6 meetings. The course was just completed. The goal of the course is to create an environment where staff feel they belong and are able to talk about different topics, sharing personal experiences and listening to perspectives of others. The coaches and administration will debrief the course as part of planning for next year. The biggest response from staff was that they do not know what to do when something occurs and they don't want to make it worse. So staff reported that they would like training that provided specific case scenarios that are concrete examples. Ms. Fox and Ms. Hudak and her admin team attended an NJ Bar Association conference that included a workshop on restorative circles and approaches under consideration for WAMs. They were particularly interested and impressed with Greg Lucas of Joy Roots, a powerful and engaging speaker. He's worked in Montclair and other New York schools, and the team is working with Mr. Lucas on a proposal to provide professional development at WAMS next year to include continuing our work this year and moving towards an implementation of restorative justice. The committee is working with Mr. Lucas on the details of the proposal, and he'll be attending the June 20th wellness meeting to answer questions and provide added information on his services to the committee. And our goal is to bring the proposal to the full board at some point this summer for approval for the 24-25 school year. Lastly, we had elementary school project update. The elementary administrative team worked this year to consider revision to our elementary schedule, and we have finalized a revised bell schedule and content area time allotments that will be implemented in all 4 elementary schools. The needs of special education students will require some adjustments to specific grade levels. With these revisions, we met the following goals. The bell schedule at all 4 elementary schools will be the same and consistent in the fall. The special education schedule, though may be different and is still being worked on. There will be 25 minutes of built-in win time, what I need, at every grade level. One idea being explored is to implement a 6-day rotation schedule. And lastly, we had discussed this at the previous meeting. There was an update to the program of studies, a change. As discussed at a previous meeting, additional language was needed in the course of studies to address a passing credit. The language now is as follows. In order to earn credit in a full year course, students must earn a passing grade in 2 marking periods, 1 in each semester.
Thanks, Jen. Any questions for about curriculum? No? I'm very excited for the WAMS TED Talk class. I think public speaking opportunities are great and should be a very cool class. Jim, you want to call the roll, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
And Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Great, thanks. We're up to the Wellness Committee report. Janice, you have the report?
Yes, I do have a report. The committee met on June 20th, and the first part of the meeting was spent discussing some of the William Annan Middle School events. We discussed Field Day this past year, and in 2021, WAM's Field Day was reimagined from a 7th grade only event to a school-wide day to foster connections and build relationships across all grade levels following the pandemic. However, in recent years, attendance on field day has declined among 8th grade students. For this year's field day, 40 6th graders, 100 7th graders, and 240 8th graders were absent. Based on feedback from students and parents, Mrs. Hudak and the WAMS Field Day Committee are in the process of revamping Field Day for 2025, making it a 6th grade only event. In addition, they are looking at other grade-specific activities geared to each of the 3 grade levels. We also discussed the co-curricular activity attendance policy. Board policy number 5230 requires that pupils be in attendance for the full school day, and policy 2430 states that no student who has been absent for a school day may participate in a co-curricular activity scheduled for the afternoon or evening of that school day unless they receive approval to participate from the building principal. This year, some families were under the impression that arriving late or leaving school early would prohibit students from attending after-school or evening activities. However, board policy considers 4 hours attendance a full day. In extenuating circumstances, families are encouraged to email Mrs. Hudak to advise her of the situation so that she may approve a student's attendance at a given co-curricular activity. Families will be reminded of the specifics of these policies in their welcome back emails. We also reviewed the 8th grade events at WAMS. Mrs. Hudak reviewed the various events that have been scheduled for 8th grade students in recent years. These include the annual field trip to Hershey Park, the 8th grade celebration, and the 8th grade dance. A board member suggested adding a fall and a winter event to the 8th grade activities calendar, and Mrs. Hudak will discuss this with the 8th grade leadership team. Another board member asked about the status of the Washington, D.C. 8th grade trip, which the school had sponsored in previous years. But administrators explained that difficulty in finding staff members to chaperone an overnight trip makes this trip no longer feasible. In terms of 6th and 7th grade events, 6th grade students participate in several events throughout the school year, including Camp Bernie to connect with their new grade level peers, a Veterans Day meeting with area veterans, the Character Ed Challenge, all in the fall, the Talent Show in winter, and Field Day in the spring. 7th grade students currently participate in the Holocaust Remembrance event in the winter and the Medieval Times Field Day in spring. The committee suggested researching additional 7th grade specific activities for both fall and winter, and Mrs. Hudak will work with Mr. Sharples and the 7th grade leadership team on these. The WAMS leadership team will also review recreational activities for each grade level scheduled for fall, winter, and spring, and will explore additional fun activities with student input. In terms of school-wide events, Mrs. Hudak shared with the committee some of the school-wide events and activities offered at WAMS, including the annual Family Fun Night and Family Evening on the Oval with food trucks and outdoor games, both sponsored in the fall by WAMS PTO, the WAMS Slam basketball game and movie at the Bernardsville Cinema in the winter, and the WAMS Musical and WAMS Expo in the spring. Mrs. Hudak reminded the committee of the important role that the WAMS PTO plays in the planning, organizing, and fundraising of these events. The committee also discussed cell phone usage and school policy. Mr. Markarian and Ms. Fox shared that the administrative cabinet has engaged in preliminary discussions regarding cell phone policy as part of an overall review of the district's approach to the use of technology and its effect on student focus, learning, social interactions, and engagement. Interestingly, a member of the Ridge student government has expressed great interest in this topic and said that high school students already recognize the effect the constant call of the internet is having on their learning. Mr. Markarian noted that the administrative cabinet and board members have been invited to read and discuss The Anxious Generation, How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness by Jonathan Haidt. One board member outlined 3 levels that they believe should guide the discussion. 1, school policy and enforcement. 2, social media usage and influence. And 3, anxiety, depression, mental health effects. The administrative team sees this as a broad community conversation that will happen over several months throughout the 24-25 school year. We also had a middle school professional development presentation by Greg Lucas of Joy Roots. In the committee's continuing efforts to research professional development for the middle school teachers in the district, the committee met virtually with Greg Lucas, an educator, trainer, and consultant who has worked with New York schools and the Montclair School District, among others, to improve school culture and climate. Mr. Lucas shared Joy Root's approach to engaging school staff and students in a way that helps them resolve conflicts and helps build community. Ms. Fox will contact administrators at Montclair to get their feedback on their 2 years' experience with Joy Roots. She will also explore the possibility of grant funding for this, and she and Mrs. Hudak will develop a more specific plan to present to the board at the August executive session meeting. The next Wellness Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 26th.
Thank you, Janice. Any questions for or about wellness? Yeah, Keith.
Yeah, I thought. A lot of younger parents in the audience tonight, they probably don't remember when we used to do the Washington, D.C. trip, which I think went by the wayside during COVID, unless I'm mistaken. I think it's really disheartening to hear that we can't have it anymore. It's unfeasible. I wonder how hard we've actually explored that, because that was actually one of the most special moments for the 8th graders to graduate. Go down to D.C. as a class, be together, see our nation's monuments, the Smithsonian. You're not going to get that out of Hershey Park. And honestly, I go down to D.C. Quite a bit for business. I was there a lot last summer, and I saw all sorts of middle schools down there, from places a heck of a lot further away than Basking Ridge. So I think that's a disheartening answer one. I think it's one that we should re-explore, because that trip was really something special. And if we could at all reconstitute that, I think that'd be great. As far as Mr. Lucas, I did have a couple questions. I know we're exploring utilizing him. Do we have any of his materials available for preview? I know we didn't quite get there this week, but maybe by next time. And any data he might want to bring along to his presentation, as far as what outcomes he's improved in Montclair, what his programs have actually accomplished. I took a look at his website, and it wasn't a lot on there, so I would be interested in seeing whatever he could present to the board to help us make a decision.
Anything else for or about wellness? Nope. Okay. Facilities operations, Keith?
Sure.
Take it away.
So we didn't have our meeting last week because there wasn't many updates, just a few things on facilities. So I'm going to do the minutes from June 11th. I'm just going to hit them on a high level, and if anybody wants to take a deeper dive, they are published. Our work orders continue to improve. There were 21 HVAC orders older than 90 days. There was 27 general maintenance orders, work orders open more than 90 days. And that was a pretty big improvement from May. That was down from 48 in each category then. So improvement is happening, maybe not as quickly as we would like, and the committee did request a breakdown on data of incoming versus completed work. What's a steady state we want to be at, like how many work orders are coming in, how many are going out, and what's the most efficient we can be there. Determine what good our service rate is. We also requested a closing time to see average closing time for maintenance orders to see how many new tickets are added per week versus closed per week. We hired a plumber on 6/10. That should happen. That should help with open work orders all around. And Mr. Mickley is continuing to reach out to VOTEX, trade schools, and other avenues looking to bring skilled people on board to the district. We also agreed to try to extend the HVAC tech currently assigned to the district from McCluskey into the summer if possible. And the idea is to establish continuity as much as possible until we find a permanent hire. Facilities condition update received June 10th. Just received an updated draft, and it came out late in May, so there was some info to add, hence the delay. Let's see. Mr. Rollo sent out updates just the other day on our ongoing summer projects. It's not part of the minutes, but it's an addendum that he attached. Ridge High School unit ventilator project's 15% complete. The ADA walkway is 53% complete. So that's moving along. That should be ready by school year. The Annan paving project is scheduled for completion August 4th. So that's moving along as well. Let's see. Liberty Corridor Directing School, 45% complete. Ridge Cafe Aramark General Maintenance, fixtures replaced with LEDs, new ceiling boards being installed. Ridge Gym B, the Aramark General Maintenance, the painting's complete. Lighting has been upgraded to LEDs. Gym floors are scheduled to be refinished. Liberty Corner Canopy Post Repair, that's begun, work has begun, and it's scheduled to be finished mid-August. We just got that update today. Varsity Field Complex, we spoke directly with Mark Harris at the Department of Environmental Protection. Since going through Boswell Engineering has been somewhat unproductive. Mr. Harris said that setbacks and concept plan look to be okay, but he's requesting an on-site visit to review some swales with Dave Kruger. That's Boswell's environmental subcontractor in the next 2 weeks. Dave, who knows Mark well and has several projects before him under review, feels that Mark could issue the LOI by September. So hopefully we are seeing progress there. Boswell will likely have to submit some revisions to the concept plan based on what Mr. Harris says when he visits the site again. Also, we are exploring, Mr. Rowell is exploring an energy audit with JCP&L. It's been, I think he said, since 2012 when we did one, so it's probably timely. You might be able to expand on that a bit. Let's see. Going back to the minutes. Transportation recap. We are going to refund some fines to Barker this year. They did improve their service toward the end of the year, and that's going to help keep our avenues of communication open and not burn any bridges there. That's Barker Transportation. Okay, we had a discussion about the affordable housing obligations coming up. Now, when the Hills were built, Mount Prospect was built by the contractor, Mount Prospect School. The thought is, with new development coming, can whatever developers come into town, can they be worked with in a similar fashion? We talked about starting to exploring the expectations of units, buildings, locations, details, and incorporate that into our strategic plan. Busing, redistricting, expansion of current facilities. As you all know, Basking Ridge has affordable housing obligations coming up, so there is going to be housing expansion in the community. A first step would be to reach out to the town and see the current state of affordable housing. Nick's going to follow up. He's already spoken with the township administrator and can maybe elaborate on that a bit. And that is about it.
Thanks, Keith. Any questions about facilities and or operations? Nope. Okay, we're up to liaison committee reports. Janice, you want to do Somerset County Ed Services?
Yes, I have a very quick update. The committee met on June 5th, and I wanted to give you an update on the expansion at the Career Center in Bridgewater, which I spoke about at the last quarterly meeting. The Career Center has serviced 325 students this school year. Their summer program will service 65 to 70 students. SCESC had been considering renting space in a closed private school in the area, but this was determined to not be viable. Instead, the Career Center will retrofit office space within their administrative suite to create 3 additional classrooms at an estimated cost of between $500,000 and $650,000. 3 additional teachers will be hired. Construction is slated to begin in October or November of 2024. Special education transportation services are also growing. There are currently 350 routes with 65 vendors, and this is still expanding.
Thanks, Janice. Any questions for Janice or any other liaison committee reports?
Yeah. So at the zoning board meeting, I think it was last week. I just want to thank Mr. Markarian for taking the time to come and join our board attorney. And as so many of you are probably aware, the Board of Education sent a letter to the zoning board. We're not taking a position on the Allen Road project one way or the other. The letter just detailed some concerns that we have as far as student transportation and how they're getting to and from school and crossing some of the lines of traffic with the anticipated truck traffic that's going to happen. So, thanks, Nick. You stood up there for an hour and probably more and took a lot of questions from community members as well as some skeptical attorneys. So, thank you for that. You handled that very well and I think represented our district well. All right, any other liaison committee reports? No? Okay.
We are up to our general public comment period. So if you have a matter relevant to the schools, please come up and speak. You have 3 minutes. State your name and address and sign in, please.
Good evening, board members. I'm Arnav Duri, a rising senior from Ridge High School. A few months ago, I read an extremely concerning article. The UN estimates that around 19 communities just from New Jersey will be underwater by 2050 due to rising sea levels caused by climate change. We live in New Jersey, and yet there's not a single substantial thing that we as a high school have done for this crisis. It's time for Ridge to step up and take action. Why are we not doing more? I'm here today with a proposition for an issue that demands our immediate attention. Climate change is not a distant threat. We have seen substantial problems right here in Basking Ridge. Yet we have not acted to show our commitment to preventing this. I have reached out to multiple individuals on the board, in Ridge, and in the town, and I've brought a resolution which I have made regarding this urgent issue. It is time to act now. The resolution consists of 5 main points. The first point is about conducting an energy audit. It is absolutely confusing why we still haven't undertaken one, considering the fact that the state has made them completely free for all high schools. I've talked to the project manager of the local government energy audit company, and she is completely on board with this, and the resolution that I'm proposing as well. I'm willing to talk with the board about further actions regarding this step after the meeting, and thus I suggest that we move forward with this as soon as possible. She also informed me that the state negates all costs for a solar energy audit, making it easier to analyze how much we can save and transition to renewable energy. That brings me to my second clause. The resolution also advises the board to create a renewable energy plan, which will set future goals while laying down the path to achieve them. This will ensure that future sustainability measures are not put on the back burner as the school year starts. It will also kickstart the overall cleaning up of Ridge's energy system, as future upgrades will be more ecologically centric. The resolution centerpiece is the clause that will spark a massive improvement, installing solar panels as the roof of Ridge High School's parking lot. This project isn't just about making Ridge more environmentally friendly. It's not just about creating green energy. It is a powerful step towards energy independence. The solar panels will generate massive amounts of clean energy, significantly reducing our reliance on the grid and alleviating financial burdens associated with the energy usage. This initiative has garnered strong support from within the school community itself, and Dr. Lazovic, Mr. Graber, and Mr. Rollo have endorsed this. My discussions with local politicians have also revealed their excitement for this project. The roof of the building itself is not being used because it will tamper with the roofing warranty, and it will be a big hit to the school's finances. I also mentioned multiple grants and subsidies in the resolution provided by the federal and state governments, which reduce and negate the cost of many items listed. For example, the New Jersey Clean Energy Program can cover a significant portion of the solar panel installation costs, making it a more feasible and cost-effective option for the school. The last clause calls for the board to utilize a local contractor for the project. This is not only to support local businesses, but also because the locals know the school the best, which can lead to a more efficient and community-centered project. Moving forwards, the steps outlined in this resolution should offer a clear and achievable path towards a more sustainable and prosperous future for Ridge High School. By taking these steps, we have the opportunity to set an example for other schools, demonstrate our commitment to environmental responsibility, and leave a lasting, positive impact on our community. I will contact you soon after this to get the details of the resolution in order so that it can be discussed in the next meeting in August. Here's to a greener Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dury. Any other public comments tonight?
Hi, my name is Haley Aptekar. I'm a rising 8th grader at William Annan. I live at 21 Century Court, Basking Ridge. I just wanted to bring to your attention that the bathrooms at WAMS need a little bit of like renovations. In most of the bathrooms that I've been at, like in the past year, locks are falling off of the stalls, and there's like usually only one that works. So there's often like lines to use the bathroom. I wasn't sure if this was brought to your attention yet, so I just wanted to like let you know so that you have like, you know. Thank you.
Thanks, Haley. Any other public comments tonight?
Hi, Desiree Noland, 88 Harrison Brook Drive. I just also want to bring up, I know that you had mentioned that there is the policy that we have. Maybe it's time to change the policy. I think that's a viable option at this point. The fact that we've kept the same amount of teachers in all the schools, kudos to you, but that's not doing well for our kids' education. I saw my daughter's MAP scores go down this past year, and I know other fifth grade parents also saw their kids' MAP scores go down. And if we're going to look at similarities across the schools, well, Mount Prospect had 72 kids last year, but they had 4 teachers for their 4th grade class or rising 5th grade class. So that's not really equal between the schools because we only had 3. So I think that's something as well to look into, especially given that we have Mrs. Stanzione looking into these alternative interventions, but they're not acceptable for all students. My daughter also has an issue with speaking up in the classroom. So when you start pushing to the 25 to 27, her anxiety pops up, and you can see her in the pictures of her class off to the side, cowering over to the side in her jacket because she's really uncomfortable. So those large class sizes are having an impact in the way our kids are speaking up within the classroom and how the teachers are able to assist these kids. So I think it really is time to change this policy and make it more manageable for the teachers, the students, the parents, all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan. Any other public comments tonight?
Hi, Erin Rowan, 83 Church Street. I promise this comment will be shorter than my last one. Now, just with respect to the numbers across the schools, I do ask that the board takes a look at that, because coupled with looking at the age of the policy and if that is still the right policy, you know, for the distribution of kids across the schools, I just want to make sure that that is what's driving the decision, because anecdotally, as we've been trying to piece together information about the class sizes across the schools, we have seen a disparity in that. So we just want to make sure that the board puts, you know, the time into looking at that rather than just monitoring the any of the students that are coming in. And I will say to Mr. Molinari, like when you were campaigning, some of the thoughts that you were expressing about how your kids went through the school system here really resonated with me. And you talked about how great the school system was for your kids and that you had so much pride in their experience here and you wanted to carry that through as a board member. And I believe in that. And that's why I'm here advocating for, you know, my children and their future. And I just want the board to put the time and effort into looking at the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rowan. Any other public comment tonight?
Hello, my name's Sharia Gunju, and I wanted to talk about an issue that's pretty prevalent, at least in Ridge High School. It's that a lot of the bathrooms that are generally accessible to students are closed for a majority of the school year. And a lot of these reasons are for things like vaping and marijuana and stuff like that, which I understand are issues. But most students don't have access to bathrooms most of the day because of these issues. Even though these bathrooms are put in lockdown, that means innocent students don't have access to them. And also, I have a dream that one day we're gonna have all toilets be open to use for everyone. I feel like things such as smoke detectors or other appliances could be a lot better for solving these issues rather than just closing bathrooms, which one, makes it hard on the students, and two, isn't doing much to solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you for public comment. Any other public comments tonight?
Hi, Neslahan Montag, 41 Essex Place. Just a bunch of, hitting on a bunch of things that were covered today. It's so awesome when the students come to the meetings. It's so great to hear from you guys directly, and you're definitely the best source of information. But I commend that student from Ridge. What an impressive young man talking about the environmental concerns, and it sounds like the renewable energy sources and all of those things that he's proposing in this resolution are definitely worth looking at. And the student comments about the bathrooms, I can speak personally to the WAMS bathrooms that the PTO undertook a concerted effort last year to go through every single bathroom. We had all of the student bathrooms repainted. We went stall by stall by stall and had each of the handles that were broken replaced. The missing ones, we got new ones. So maybe that needs to be redone, but I would encourage you to bring it up to the PTO. And we also had a PTO beautification committee at WAMS that did a fabulous job refreshing the staff bathrooms. So we do try to keep those concerns in mind. Anyway, back to WAMS. Thank you guys for supporting the LED sign. We're really excited about that. It's in the works. We think it's going to be a great update and a really valuable source of information for the community. Two other things. One is just I don't really know about the LCS class sizes, but I do know that so many parents have been reaching out to you guys, and the fact that so many are here tonight show that it's definitely still an issue of great concern to them. And I think it might be helpful for the board to share a little bit more information about like what goes into the decision making on this and how it's taking into account, you know, like our affordable housing needs and the other things that we can expect to be raising the number of students there, because it doesn't seem like that's been discussed at all, and that might help the community understand better what's going on rather than just hearing class sizes are going up again. And finally, something near and dear to my heart is that 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip. And Keith mentioned, like, we have been talking about this since COVID, what a huge loss it was. And it may sound kind of silly, but, you know, Hershey's wonderful for fun and everything, but it doesn't hold a candle to what that D.C. trip represented to the kids. And we were told at the time, you know, given COVID, that there weren't accommodations available, and then it was a transportation issue, and then it was like staffing. But when it had been done in years past, we did get a good number of parent chaperones who were willing to do it. And I'm just wondering what can be done to kind of think outside the box and incentivize the staff to want to, you know, step up and make it happen again, because it's only one night. And it's so valuable. It's such a wonderful learning experience for the kids. And, you know, going on roller coasters is fun too, and seeing Hershey Park. But let's face it, you know, many other schools who had to cut it out during COVID have brought it back again. So I'm hoping that we can do the same, because it was a wonderful experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montag. Any other public comment tonight? Okay, we'll close public comment. Nick, do you have anything you want to say?
Thanks for sharing the information about the hardware on the bathroom stalls at Annan. We'll definitely follow up on that. That's really it. Thanks.
Okay, we're up to board forum. Does anybody have anything they would like to raise tonight? No takers? Okay. We are up to adjournment. Motion for adjournment. Jen, Dave, all in favor? Aye. All right, everybody, we'll see you in August. Thank you.